What if everything you've ever known, every sunrise, every star in the night sky, every breath you've ever taken, what if all of it was just code? A line of code, a glitch, an error in a cosmic video game that has been running for billions of years. But what if the game is breaking? That's what we will investigate today. So watch till the end to find out. This is our channel, and today we are going to tell you what if the universe is a simulation and it is breaking. 1. The simulation hypothesis. Have you ever played a video game where the graphics seem so real you can almost touch them? Or have you ever found yourself completely immersed in a movie, living vicariously through the characters on screen? If you have, you'll know exactly what we mean when we say that sometimes fiction can feel more real than reality itself. Imagine then, how confusing and even frightening it might be if you were inside a computer game without knowing it. Well, what if that's exactly what's happening to you right now? Welcome to the simulation hypothesis. This is the idea that we live in a reality which is not real, but rather a simulation created by some higher intelligence. This idea may seem far-fetched, but it is actually closer to reality than you think. In fact, according to a survey conducted in 2020, nearly half of all scientists believe that we live in a computer simulation. This idea was put forward by Nick Bostrom, who is a philosopher at the University of Oxford. His theory is based on the idea that if advanced civilizations can run simulations, then there must be many more simulations than real universes. As a result, he argues that it is likely that we are living in a simulation ourselves. But why would a simulation look exactly like reality? Well, that's because if it didn't, we wouldn't be able to experience it as real. Otherwise, we would immediately realize that we are in a simulation. Think about it. If you were playing a game and the graphics suddenly started glitching, you would probably be able to tell that you were inside a computer game. Likewise, if the rules of physics changed in a simulation, this would also be a sign that something was wrong. Therefore, a simulation must be indistinguishable from reality in order for it to work. Speaking of which, have you ever experienced any weird stuff that you couldn't explain? Maybe you've seen something that shouldn't have been there, or experienced something that you couldn't quite place. If you have, you may have witnessed a glitch in the matrix. These are small errors or anomalies that occur in the fabric of reality. They can be subtle or they can be major, but they always point to one thing. Reality is not what it seems. Déjà vu is one of the most common glitches that people experience. This is the French term for already seen. It's that feeling you get when you think you've already experienced the present moment before. The Mandela Effect is another example. This refers to a phenomenon in which a large group of people share a false memory of an event or person. For example, many people vividly remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. But he didn't actually die until 2013. There are also strange occurrences of false memories. Some people remember having an extra finger on one hand, while others remember having a different number of toes. There are also cases of people seeing numbers repeat themselves over and over again. For example, you might be driving along and see the time on the clock is 11:11, or you might look down at your phone and see that you received a call at 11:11. Some people believe that these are all signs that the simulation is starting to break down. They argue that these glitches are bugs in the system, just like when a video game starts to glitch. This is because if the simulation is perfect, then it shouldn't contain any errors or anomalies. However, glitches like these are becoming more and more common, which suggests that the simulation is starting to break down. So do we have any other proof that the universe is a simulation? Actually, we do. One of the most compelling evidence that we live in a simulation comes from an unlikely source. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur and CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, once said that the odds of us not living in a simulation are 1 in billions. He also believes that artificial intelligence could pose a serious threat to humanity. That's because if AI has become too powerful, they could end up killing us all. In a way, this would be fitting given that we are nothing more than lines of code ourselves. But what does this all mean? What does it mean if the universe is a simulation? Who's running the simulation and why? Well, unfortunately, there are no easy answers to these questions. But that doesn't mean we can't speculate. Some people believe that the simulation is run by a higher intelligence, perhaps an alien species or even a future version of ourselves. Others believe that the simulation is part of a greater plan, a test to see if we are worthy of advancing. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The simulation is breaking down, and it won't be long before we find out what's really going on. 2. Simulation hypothesis. When you think about the vastness of the universe, it can be hard to wrap your mind around just how big it is. Our solar system contains 8 planets and dwarf planets, as well as countless asteroids and comets. And that's just a tiny part of the Milky Way galaxy. There are billions of stars in the Milky Way, and each one could have its own solar system, and that's just a fraction of the universe. Most astronomers believe that there are countless galaxies out there, each containing billions of stars. So just how big is the universe? Well, it's so big that it's impossible to comprehend. Scientists believe that the universe began with the Big Bang theory. This theory states that all of the matter in the universe was once compressed into an extremely hot and dense ball. Then, about 13.8 billion years ago, the ball exploded and the universe began to expand. As the universe expanded, it cooled and matter began to form. Over time, stars and galaxies formed and eventually life emerged. Scientists don't know what caused the Big Bang, but they believe that everything in the universe can be traced back to that moment. 3. Are we meant to notice? Imagine waking up one morning and everything feels just a little bit off. The sun is shining a little too brightly. The birds are singing a little too loudly. And you can't shake this feeling that something isn't right. You try to shake it off, but no matter what you do, you can't escape the feeling that reality is somehow different. You start to notice other things as well. People's faces seem a little more distorted. The buildings seem a little more misshapen. And you start to wonder if you're going crazy. But what if you're not going crazy? What if reality is actually changing? That's what some people are starting to believe. They argue that the glitches in the simulation are becoming more frequent and more obvious, and that soon everyone will be able to see that something is wrong. These people believe that we are meant to notice these glitches. They believe that they are signs that the simulation is breaking down, and that we are meant to awaken to the truth. They ask, are we meant to notice the glitches in the simulation? Are we meant to see the signs that reality is changing? Or are we meant to ignore them? Only time will tell. 4. You are the key. What if we told you that you were the only real person in the universe? What if everything around you, every person, every building, every star in the sky, was just a figment of your imagination? It might sound crazy, but hear us out. What if the simulation is breaking down? What if the glitches are becoming more frequent and more obvious? What if the only way to escape the simulation is to wake up to the truth? Some people believe that this is exactly what's happening. They believe that the glitches in the simulation are becoming more frequent and more obvious, and that soon everyone will be able to see that something is wrong. They believe that we are meant to notice these glitches. They believe that they are signs that the simulation is breaking down, and that we are meant to awaken to the truth. But here's the twist. What if you are the only one who is awake? What if everyone else is still trapped in the simulation? What if it's up to you to help them wake up? It sounds like a big responsibility, but it's one that we are all capable of. All it takes is a little curiosity, a willingness to question reality, and a desire to help others. So what are you waiting for? The time to act is now. Now, if you liked this video, do us a favor, click on that like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to watch more videos like this, click here.